In the summer of 1991, a band from Aberdeen, Washington recorded an album in 16 days on a budget of $65,000. DGC Records expected it to sell 50,000 copies. It sold 30 million. And it ended an entire era of rock music in the process. Kurt Cobain and Krist Novoselic met in high school in Aberdeen, Washington, a small logging town with nothing much going on and nowhere much to go. They formed Nirvana in 1987. Aberdeen gave Cobain everything he needed to write songs: isolation, frustration, the feeling of being on the outside of everything. That feeling became Nirvana's entire identity. They released their debut album, Bleach, in 1989 on Sub Pop, Seattle's independent label, for $606. It went nowhere commercially, but it built them a fan base, the kind of devoted underground following that major labels started to notice. In 1990, they signed to DGC Records, and in 1990, they found their drummer. Dave Grohl walked in, and everything locked into place. Cobain later said that with Grohl, Nirvana finally sounded like what he had always heard in his head. To record Nevermind, they hired producer Butch Vig. The sessions took place at Sound City Studios in Van Nuys, California, in May and June 1991. 16 days. The band had rehearsed the songs obsessively before walking into the studio. Cobain's goal for the sound was simple. He wanted it to sound like the Bay City Rollers getting molested by Black Flag. Pop hooks with pure aggression underneath. To earn gas money to get down to Los Angeles for the sessions, they played one show in Seattle on April 17, 1991. That show was the world premiere of Smells Like Teen Spirit. Nobody in the room knew what they were hearing. DGC shipped 46,000 copies of Nevermind on release day, September 24, 1991. Within weeks, the album was selling out everywhere. By Christmas 1991, it was moving 400,000 copies a week in the United States alone. And in January 1992, Nevermind knocked Michael Jackson's Dangerous off the #1 spot on the Billboard 200. A band from a logging town in Washington state had just outsold the biggest pop star on earth. What nobody saw coming, including Nirvana, was that Nevermind didn't just sell records. It ended hair metal overnight. Bands that had dominated rock radio for a decade suddenly sounded absurd. The decade of excess was over. What Cobain was singing about, alienation, frustration, not fitting in, spoke to an entire generation that had no other voice. Kurt Cobain himself hated the irony. He had wanted to be an underground artist. Instead, he became the biggest rock star in the world. He called Nevermind his worst album. He thought the production was too polished, too clean, too commercial. He spent the rest of his life trying to make records that sounded less like it. Cobain died in April 1994. He was 27 years old. Nevermind has sold over 30 million copies worldwide and has never stopped selling. Next episode, Queen and the Freddie Mercury story, one of the greatest frontmen in rock history, and the band that proved rock and opera belonged together. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and drop your favorite Nirvana track in the comments. I want to know.